Is this finally the moment that we have been waiting for so long? We have been calling alt season, and it took a little longer than we hoped, definitely, but things are now looking to absolutely turn around. In this video, I would like to go over why that is and how to prepare exactly for maybe the most interesting part of your financial life. Welcome to the Fomo Factory. Like the video if you like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn the bell notification on, and I am really stoked for this one because we had to have a lot of patience in this market. There were so much non-believers, disbelievers saying that this time is different. Hey, and maybe it turns out that maybe this time it actually is again not that different. It only took a little bit longer. Let's get right into it. So I'm looking at the Bitcoin dominance right now, and definitely not saying that, hey, we have an alt season because the Bitcoin dominance took a little hit again. Like that, it's what it's been doing like many times so far. But things actually now look different than what they have done in the last couple years basically. So let's go over these charts right now, how to best prepare, and let me show you something really interesting here as well. So the first thing, which is of course really interesting to see if you ask me, is Bitcoin of course making new all-time highs like Bitcoin is supposed to do, and we will never have to doubt if Bitcoin ever stops doing that. So even guys, during the next bear market, that will be a bear market, not because there is so much great news, right? It will be a bear market because there is bad news. There will be whatever it might be. It gets banned, and this time it's not from China, but from the US and whatever. And then the catalyst for the next bull market is probably that they're gonna reverse that, right? That these kind of things. Never let anyone tell you that this is going to zero because it's completely nonsense, of course. But the interesting thing to see, in my opinion, right here, is that if you take a close look at Bitcoin, it has been going almost only up, right? But we also had a candle to the downside. If we put it on the 4-hour, you can see it even better, right? But now what do we notice? If we overlay the Bitcoin dominance on this chart, what do you see? Whatever Bitcoin did, it went up, it went down, it went up again. Basically, the Bitcoin dominance only went down. Right? So that's pretty interesting to see that no matter the direction of Bitcoin right now, the Bitcoin dominance is falling. So yes, a lot of money is entering the market right now. If we look at the total crypto market on the weekly, right? Let's zoom out to put a little in perspective. You can see that a lot of money is flowing into the crypto market, and the crypto market as a whole has made new all-time highs as well. It's not just Bitcoin, but also, Bitcoin itself is going up, but the Bitcoin dominance is going down once again, meaning that more money is flowing into something else. What could that something else be? It could be stables, right? No, if we look at stables, yeah, that's not really going up, right? People are not putting money in their stables. So then it should be alts, right? If it's not Bitcoin, not stables, then it could be alts. To be fair, ETH is outperforming right now, right? If you look at others divided by ETH, so the altcoin market, excluding the top 10 on its Ethereum pair, that has been going down against ETH since April, right? And that's not that weird because, yeah, ETH has underperformed really hard. Altcoins were outperforming ETH, right? And altcoins didn't do that well. So that says something about ETH, of course. But now we'll see that ETH is playing catch up against altcoins, but also against Bitcoin. It seems, but it could be a little too soon. It tries to break out at least, right? And this is really interesting to see because if ETH is going up with like, let's say 2x against Bitcoin at the current Bitcoin price, then it means that ETH will do a 2x on the dollar pair, right? Which will put it at $6,300 right now. However, if Bitcoin also goes up while that happens, then we can easily see a 10K plus Ethereum. buying the dip has always worked, right? And not buying every 10% dip every day or every 5% dip, right? That's a good way of throwing your money away really fast. But buying the real FUD, the real corrections, the real liquidation events, that has always worked. That was a chance to buy ETH around 1400 bucks not too long ago, basically giving you a 2x on the safest altcoin out there. It's kind of crazy, right? Also, ETH broke above this resistance right here, which is not a small level. We had resistance in 2021, same as support over there multiple times, also in 2022. Came back as resistance in 2024, tested as support, broke a lot of resistance that year, and again this year a lot of resistance, and now it finally broke. Plus you can see this diagonal line, which was basically the whole uptrend for Ethereum, this bull market, right? It broke, and now we are above it again. I don't want to, like, again, cheer too soon. Could end up being a fake out technically, but compared to the rest, what we're going to take a look at, I think this is going to make you actually very happy as a altcoin holder. And if you look at the last cycle, you put the Fibonacci extension over it, you see that it went well over the 1.618. If you put that same Fib extension over this cycle right now, you can see that the 1.618 is coming in at around 7,500 bucks. Right, so that's a target that I feel like, yeah, you know, let's focus on that first. I mean, yeah, let's focus first on making new all-time highs, but when going in price discovery, then let's take a look at that. Now, altcoins are, of course, going up when ETH is going up, right? Unless they're completely stay crashing against Ethereum, but that's usually not the case. It is still looking like there's the money flow from Bitcoin, ETH, and, you know, the rest of the altcoin market. So let's cheer for ETH. I think it's good for the ecosystem. And also, if you take a look at the amount of money that has been put into ETH right now, the stable coin deployment and the mass adoption that's having right now, I think it's safe to say that there's a very good chance that ETH will do very well. Now, let's take a look at some more degen kind of stuff. So another thing, though, that I did, by the way, let me know, how high do you think ETH is going? And let me know, which is going to hit 20K first, Bitcoin or ETH? I don't think Bitcoin is ever going to hit 20K again, personally. If we now take a look at certain dominances, right, that puts it in perspective, because we know what the money in the market is. We just want to know how a certain asset is doing compared to all that money in the market. That gives you a realistic idea of where it is and where it can go, right? Because if you look at the ETH dominance, yeah, look, I mean, if it's ranging like this, then it could go to maybe around 20%. We are still far from there at the moment, right? It bounced off of this level. We gave the signal at the beginning of April, and it has been doing nothing else but going up, basically. Although, you know, it took a pause, but that's healthy. That's good. That gives people time to reset, to put the sentiment a little on the realistic side of things and not be too euphoric, which will make you make mistakes eventually. But again, also, if you look at the Cardano dominance is just showing real signs of strength right now. If you look at others dominance, right? The altcoin market, excluding the top 10. Look, this has some catching up to do still, right? This is a huge level right here, and we bounced off of it. But so far, this is by no means a breakout compared to all the dead cat bounces we had before, right? But it's now that the rest of the stars are aligning, which is confirmative for this chart. And another chart that I've been looking at for a long time is the Bitcoin, ETH, and stable dominance. I don't know if you remember this, but we said, hey, this is the prime example of an oscillator, basically, right? And it's been sitting at this level. Yeah, you know, every time it got a rejection from this level right here, there was the November run, right? Right here, there was basically the 2023 run that we had, right? Over here, we had some good moments in the altcoin market. And this was Altseason in 2021. Look, this kind of measures to me how far we are in Altseason. This is my Altseason index, right? If this is the top of the range and this is the bottom of the range, yeah, then it's safe to say that we now started and we are kind of 2.5% there of the total 20% move. So could it be almost 10 times as big? Probably, right? Probably. Because, like I said, this is an oscillator, right? If this goes here, altcoins, they do great against Bitcoin. Now, I created an indicator, which I'm not going to make public though. But in the Alpha Factory, you will have access. And soon I will be having something really cool to share with you guys. And that's a platform that if you are in crypto, you want to use it. One of the indicators that we are going to use over there is this. This is, yeah, I have to give it a great name for now. I called it the oscillator risk score. But this is basically an indicator that you can apply on oscillating charts because it looks at, hey, where are we right now? And how much time historically have we spent above this level? And based on that, it says if the risk is high or low, right? Because again, if we don't spend a lot of time above this level, it says like, hey, we are now somewhere where it doesn't last long. So good chance that that chart will go down, right? If it's green, it says the opposite. Hey, we haven't spent much time below it, right? Overall, we are sitting higher. So statistically speaking, it's a good chance that this chart will go higher, right? Now, this is now flashing red, right? And it's kind of confirming what we have been talking about, right? Apart from the levels, it also did not spend a lot of time above this level, right? Most of the time, it's kind of between the level where we are right now and here. So this is saying, be bearish on this chart. Being bearish on this chart is being bullish on altcoins compared to anything else in life, basically. So that's what we're gonna do still. Now you can again apply this on every oscillator. An oscillator is basically a chart that ranges, right? You cannot apply it on Bitcoin. Why? You will get unlimited high risk, right? Because Bitcoin is pretty much always higher than where it has been in the past because Bitcoin is a chart that mostly only goes up. But for dominances, it is really interesting to see actually. If you look at the Ethereum dominance, this is what you get. Hey, it hasn't spent a lot of time below the point where we are right now. So statistically speaking, there's a good chance that eventually it will get higher because, you know, that's where it belongs. Interesting. Again, you can apply this on a lot. Ethereum dominance is saying green. Green, you know, as in go up, right? If you apply this on the Bitcoin dominance, it says red, right? And we haven't been here much. We have spent a little time over here, but I excluded this part from this indicator because in 2015, 16, 14, there were no altcoins. So of course the Bitcoin dominance was pretty much 100% right there. That's not fair to measure. That's not where we are right now, right? But yeah, if you are in the Alpha Factory, there's a link down below. If you're not, then you can already kind of use this for yourself. Others dominance now just, you know, green, right? So also the buying signal right there. Let's go over a couple real interesting things because what could this mean for the money in the market? What are some you know, ridiculous predictions that we can make right now? Well, first off, can we have a pullback in the meantime? Sure. Can the Bitcoin dominance bounce at a certain point? Maybe this level? Sure, definitely. What I do think is interesting though is that if you take a look at the dominance right now for Bitcoin, we are now in week number 4 of being red in a row, right? 4 weeks. Last time we saw that was actually, if I'm not missing it right here, a long time ago. A really long time ago. Actually 3 years ago. So it's not necessarily only about the percentages. It's also about the trend really losing momentum. And therefore, you can also look at certain momentum indicators, such as the RSI, right? And the RSI is now showing on the monthly that there is a cross coming. Also, another indicator that we have been working on, but that will come later. But if you look at the purple line, and this is maybe a little technical video, but if it works, right? The purple line is the RSI on the monthly. The yellow line is the moving average of that RSI. If the RSI is higher than the moving average, it means that that specific chart has better momentum than average and therefore likely to be healthy, to go up, to do well, right? But if it goes below there, it says like, wow, take all the average, we are now doing worse. The momentum is shifting, the chart probably goes down. On the high time frame, like the monthly, it works really well, I noticed. And what do you see with the Bitcoin dominance when you look at these crosses? If you look, when we got a real cross, right? So when was a real good cross? This right here was perfect cross, right? Also, to the upside, this right here was a perfect cross. What do they both suggest? Well, here it marked the high of the Bitcoin dominance, basically, right? We got the cross and Altseason began, right? The Bitcoin dominance was tanking. It lost all its momentum. Here we got the cross from the downside, going up. And that was basically the low of the Bitcoin dominance, starting off the Bitcoin phase of the cycle. Again, I don't want to cheer too soon, right? Because as you can see right here, we got a cross, but it got back up again. So it was kind of a fake cross over there. But even that fake cross happened in when? November. Remember November? 5x's, 10x's were made, right? Because the Bitcoin dominance really lost a bunch of momentum compared to the fact that Bitcoin was sitting quite high back then, and that was a lot of money flowing into alts. 5, 10x's. On such a failed cross, we are getting there again. It could throw a curveball, right? But if the momentum keeps up like this, then we're going to see the cross not too long from now. And that's where I think, that's where Altseason will be confirmed, right? It's not confirmed yet, in my opinion. But that will be the confirmation for me that it started, right? So you might see in the title, has it started? Well, I don't know. Maybe. Could be. Good chance. Also, why did this happen? QT was still going on. Well, rate cuts, right? Now we see the same, almost the same weakness in the Bitcoin dominance, but QT is still going on, and there are no rate cuts. So that also tells me that, hey, maybe the catalyst that we have all been like kind of searching for, what triggers an Altseason, maybe it's simply the fact that at a certain point, Bitcoin is sitting really high. People take profits, put it into altcoins, and we don't need a different narrative than that. Doesn't mean that it won't help. Because if it now already shows weakness, then what do you think is going to happen when QT stops and or when we get rate cuts? That's going to be the final push. It's now pushing it to the edge, and these rate cuts, etc., it's going to, kick it right off of that edge. So that would be pretty interesting, actually. Now, as you can see, at the current, right? Let's overlay the altcoin market, because let's talk money right now, right? Let's overlay the altcoin market. At the moment, the Bitcoin dominance went down a little bit. The altcoin market went from $580 billion, right, to $720 billion. A big gain, actually. That's nothing outside of the top 125, right? So it's quite crazy. That's with this move, right? Let's compare that move again to an Altseason. This, right? Or this. This is absolutely nothing. It's nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's less than nothing, right? The Bitcoin dominance went down with 3.5%. I assume that it should go somewhere around 40, maybe 45. That's 10x more. Again, the charts, 10x more. Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. Right. So what could happen with the altcoin market itself if that happens? Well, it kind of depends, though. I mean, the altcoin market so far went up with 37%. 10x more, 300 something percent. Hey, top of this channel. Coincidence, right? Actually, fucking coincidence. What? I didn't plan this, but this is quite crazy. Either my math is really correct, or I'm just getting very lucky in this video, and you just should like the video. But that's a big gain, actually, right? 370%. You might feel like, yeah, that's almost a 5x. That's it. Again, it's high caps, right? Everything in the top 125. So, yeah, of course, on average as well, right? So coin rank 11 might not do a 5x, but coin rank number 90 might do a 8x, right? To compensate for that. It depends. But that's a pretty insane gain, actually. And I expect the altcoin market to top around this upper line before we get into the bear market. And this is where you'll be an idiot if you don't sell. Because at the end of the day, this is a rising wedge, which is typically not having the best outcome. But this is a multi-year rising wedge going back 8 years, right? So, hey, in 8 years, just had 8 touches or something, right? Could we see one more and then go, yeah, makes all the sense. If we look at the Bitcoin season chart, or altcoin season chart, basically, so every altcoin, excluding stables, and if on their Bitcoin pair, yeah, we see this, right? It's still sitting so low compared to where we came from. This is our cycle so far, right? So instead of being down with 63%, it's down 58%. You know, and that difference, this difference, is all the gains that we have seen in the last couple of weeks. You know, that's quite crazy, actually. Because we're not even talking about going up right here. This is just going down, right? It's just because Bitcoin went up so hard. And that's what we said before, right? Last Altseason, Bitcoin was sitting at 30, 40K. And altcoins went fucking nuts. Yeah. Imagine what happens if altcoins start to outperform Bitcoin while Bitcoin is sitting at 120K or higher. I know that there are more altcoins in the market right now, definitely. But yeah, if you exclude the dead coins, then it's not that much more. But there's also way more liquidity in the market right now, right? So in ratio, you know, if you feel like, that it will never be as big as 2021, I don't know. Don't be surprised if it eventually is. Also, if we apply the oscillator risk on this one, it's pretty interesting to see, because this is somewhat oscillating, right? Not really, but a little bit. You can see we got the green signal in June this year, right? Because at that point, it was lower than what it has been in the last 7 years on average. Right? And that's just where you want to get in. You don't want to find a chart or an indicator that times the top for you, because you will look forever, right? Waste of your time. You want to look at, it's usually sitting there. It's now here. Great moment to buy. It's now sitting here, great moment to sell, right? Look at the range, and the range will tell you where to put your odds, right? And can it go a little lower than maybe still? Yeah. But again, also, if you look back at the last cycle, you know, the people who went into altcoins here, right? Yeah, look, the anti altcoin community that we had back then, just as we have right now. Here, they were saying, I told you. Like, yeah. Try to look back, right? If you bought here and first went here and then went here, would you like be mad about that? I think you did a great job, actually. Yeah, and it now kind of feels the same, actually. And here we didn't even had that flash yet, actually. So this is all looking more than fantastic. More than fantastic. Now, what kind of odds to be in? Where to position yourself for the coming months? Maybe a year. Right? Because it might be right translated this time. It's good. I don't know. I'm not saying it will, but hey, the business cycle is a little bit. So, you know, so far crypto follows that. Let's keep that in mind. How to position? It depends on your goal. Let me tell you what I do. And you just try to take that and turn it into something that you might want to do, right? I start with my goal. My goal from this point is to 3x my portfolio. So am I going to let me find something. Am I going to CoinMarketCap right now and try to find a portfolio allocation by going to page number, 6 or way lower in the low cap coins? Mainly no, because my goal is to 5x give or take, right, or to 3x give or take. So why would I take more risk than I would need to, right? I can almost probably put everything in ETH and reach my goal. Right, but just in case it will be a little bit more tempered than my expectation, I do other things as well. But I'm not going to take too much risk right now. So I am looking at coins that I feel like, hey, one, they are probably going to provide me with more than a 3x, because again, if you want to make a 3x, you have to make sure that your coin does at least a 4 or 5x, because if you're smart, you DCA out, right? You not try to time the top. So I try to look at coins that can do that. So therefore, I'm looking at simple and boring coins like an Ethereum, a Cardano. Sui will probably do that as well, right? Over here you'll have Aave, which will probably do well, right? Tau, Near, Ondo, all these kind of things, right? That's like Caspa probably, right? Render. That's where I put most of my money right now. But not everything, because it's still crypto. I want to make a 3x, definitely, but I also want to position myself that it's possible for me to make a 20x or so. So what I'm also doing, or first, these coins, right? 3x potential, but also, if the market does throw us a curveball, they're not going to wreck me as rank number 600 or 6,000 is going to do, right? Therefore, that choice. Now, what I'm also doing is I have still cash. One, the market, it's still crypto. By every thing we know, we could go down with 80% tomorrow, right? What would be the reason? I don't know, but let's not pretend that it's not possible, right? And in that case, I want to be able to buy it up. I think that being all in, it's not smart, especially if you are an emotional type of person when it comes to investing, right? Because what if you are all in? The market has a big capitulation where you feel like, shit. Yeah, then it doesn't feel nice, right? apart from the fact that, you know, buying the major lows is always just the way to do it. I mean, good profit right now already, right? While the market is not, you know, high or anything, the altcoin market, but it's just because I bought the dip. I took some profits. I bought the dip. I took some profits and I bought the dip, right? So therefore, you know, make sure that you be able to buy that dip. What I'm also doing is I'm still in launchpads. Of course, new projects, they will do fine if the market does well. And for now, most of these launchpad releases, right, they are still down a lot compared to where they came from. I have a list with the coins that are, you know, still doing well and the coins with, you know, wrecked. So that's like, okay, that's a big list of wrecked coins actually, right? But in a bull market, especially for alts, we have seen last year in a small uptick in the altcoin market, you know, we saw 20, 30x's on these things already. So that's what I'm doing. And I keep money in case a new kind of project pops up, right? And I'll give you an example. I'm thinking like, how can you take advantage of something that's growing so fast without being late, right? If I look at the DeFi total value locked, right? The DeFi, the money that's locked on platforms like Uniswap, Trader Joe, PancakeSwap, all these things, that's increasing really hard. There's now $130 billion locked in DeFi. DeFi is obviously coming back. It's more than just hype, but just think like, hey, if people join crypto, right, what do they do no matter what the hype is, right? They trade. So they either do that on a CX or on a DX, right? DEX, as a normal people person says that. Now, therefore, I'm thinking like, hey, DeFi is obviously going to be a winner apart from what the hype is, right? But how can I take big advantage of DeFi? By buying the Binance chain, right? Or not the Binance chain, like that probably expensive, but BNB, right? By buying more Trader Joe tokens, by whatever. Well, there are newer projects that are worth a shot to me. And I want to share one in this video right now that is coming up exactly today. By the time you watch it, by the way, it's there. So there's a link down below. To be honest, it's a referral link. Definitely, if you use that, you get a discount of 5%. And it's cheap. And I think that this is going to be really good, actually. Because this is a new DeFi protocol. Well, this basically, it's Cycle Network. And Cycle Network is more than just DeFi. But if you look at Cycle Network, this token already has like 8 billion or 8 million, sorry, I don't have enough coffee, dollars in funding right now so far. And the cool thing is that apart from their network, they also release their own DeFi protocol together with it. And what I like so much about that is that this platform combines multiple chains and lets you farm right there. So if you want to farm on AVAX, you need to go to, you know, Trader Joe or Black or whatever. If you want to farm on, like, it's all over the place. This is combined. One chain, one gas token. If you want to do a transaction on Ethereum, you don't have to pay the transaction cost with Ethereum. It's fucking awesome. And this is, I think, exactly the thing that DeFi was actually missing. So I am now looking at their pretty interesting fundraising, which is the Diamond X. So this Goose Farm, and Goose Farm is basically the platform where you can farm. You can do it in a gamified way. It's very focused on TikTok. It brings in so much retail. If you look also on June, you can already see their numbers, which is pretty crazy. They already have 200,000 unique users. That's quite a lot already. If you look at the new daily users, they had a huge spike, so they had some marketing or whatever right there, I don't know, but still every day hundreds of users are joining so far, and the daily transaction volume is going quite nuts as well for the daily transactions. Yeah, and if you then look at the fees that they are making, that's pretty Sick. So I want exposure to that. That's where I feel like I want exposure to. And therefore, I want to buy this thing right here. So it now says coming soon, so I cannot show you yet. But you get a diamond egg, which is an NFT. And if you have that egg, you will get an airdrop of the cycle token, but also of the goose token. So it's not really a pre-sale or anything, but just you buy something for 350 bucks, very cheap, and you get an airdrop plus a lot of future rewards based on how great the protocol is doing. Yeah, and that's definitely for me a good way to get some exposure, because if this goes live and it turns out to be big, then yeah, people of course will buy it on the open market. But these are these kind of things that I also have money reserved for. Like, hey, I just want to have some exposure to this. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, I took my shot, right? Good tokenomics as well for the cycle token, the token utility. You can see it right here. It's the mainnet gas fees, right? That's always good. SDK uses fees. And developers have to pay that token to call the roll-in, roll-out SDK. So if they want to build on it, yeah, that's just what a layer 1 is doing, right? And you get exposure to these tokens by getting such a diamond egg NFT. Now, let me know. I can make a full video about it where I go through all the docs, show you all the information, because I think that this is actually pretty interesting. So that's also something that I'm doing right now. But if you want to get into this, there's a link down below. I'm buying a couple of these diamond egg NFTs actually. And that's just a way, like if you, for example, go to crypto rank is even better, I think. If you go to the cake token, right? What's that? The cake token, that's a native token of PancakeSwap, right? The biggest DEX on BNB. And this thing did absolutely fantastic, of course, in the last bull market, right? It went to 45 bucks, basically, 45 bucks, right? What does the token do? Not a lot, actually. It's not like that great. If you look at the funding rounds, unfortunately, can't see the price right here. But imagine that you were able, I don't know how the pre-sale worked back then, but if you imagine you were in the funding round for such a token, right, during a bull market, man, that's where the money is made. And there will still be a lot of tokens that will launch in this market and fail. But that's the thing with crypto startups, 90% fail. But the one that does succeed in a bull market, that gives you so much returns that makes up for the rest of it, right? So that's definitely what I'm also spending money on. Just making sure that I'm going to have exposure to the new next best thing, and not something that's already out on the market and that every YouTuber is talking about. Like, who are you front running then, right? Nobody. This is quite the way to front run. I know this is also on YouTube, but the token is not out yet. I think that this market is set for way higher. And if you want good exposure at this stage of the market, again, what I am doing, I'm looking like, hey, how are alts doing against BTC? They're low. Cool. So alts have more room to outperform Bitcoin. I want to be in alts. Right? How do alts look on the dollar pair? Is it already time to buy these alts? Yeah, look, still a good time, I think. And what are my gambles, right? So I have a couple gambles. Some will work, some won't. If you are in the Alpha Factory, you can see my full portfolio. You can track it right there. You see what I invest in. You can call with me if you want to go over your portfolio. I think now, in this stage of the market, it's mostly a matter of having money in the things that you really believe in. Don't chase the hype too much. I know, for example, people are now really focused on Say, right? Does very well right now. I'd say is going up and it's outperforming. Yeah, I mean, it from the absolute lows, it's now almost up 3x. You know, slightly better than average, but I also feel like that's nothing that I would say like wow. Plus, everybody is already talking about this. The art in crypto or the challenge is to be there before people talk about it, right? Let's focus on that in the coming couple months on this channel. How to find the next best narrative before it goes up. There are really interesting ways actually to find that. I want to wrap it up right here. Guys, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, I would really appreciate it. I'm making less YouTube content. I want to talk the same shit every day about the market. Focusing a lot on the Alt Factory and the platform that we're going to release soon. If you are in altcoins or in crypto, then that's a platform. You look at it and you be like, oh, okay, so I've got to do this right now. Awesome. And it's based on so much data that it's backed. It works. And that's all we need, right? Screw every other analysis platform out there. But I already said too much. Let's talk about that soon. So thanks for watching. Once again, like the video. If you like the video, subscribe to the channel. Turn the bell notification on. Links in the description for the Diamond Egg and the Alt Factory. If you are willing to do a little bit more than passively waiting for your current portfolio to go up. And if you do that, also fine. Let's make it anyway, guys. We're going to do it.